What happens when a Hollywood legend, known for his no-nonsense grit, steps onto a talk show stage expecting a friendly chat but gets ambushed instead? Harrison Ford thought he was joining the Graham Norton show to promote his latest film, Captain America, Brave New World, where he plays a formidable new role. But what unfolded was a verbal showdown that left the audience stunned, producers scrambling, and social media ready to erupt. This wasn't just a promotional appearance gone sideways. It was a clash of titans that exposed raw tensions and tested the limits of civility on live TV. Hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts in the comments, because this story builds to a breaking point you won't see coming. Harrison Ford ambled onto the Graham Norton show set, his trademark half-smirk greeting the roaring crowd, his weathered charm filling the room as he waved and settled onto the iconic red couch. Graham Norton, all smiles and quick wit, welcomed him with a flourish, hyping Ford's role as Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross in Captain America, Brave New World, tossing in a playful nod to his Indiana Jones legacy. The audience cheered, but Graham's grin had a sly edge, hinting at a curveball waiting to be thrown. "Thanks for having me, Graham. Always good to be back," Ford said, his voice gruff but warm, leaning back with the ease of a man who'd done this 1,000 times, his eyes scanning the lively crowd and the other guests, a comedian and a pop star, both grinning nervously. "Delighted to have you, Harrison," Graham replied, his tone chipper but sharp. "But I've got to ask about something you said recently. That bit about celebrities needing to stick to their craft and not meddle in politics sounded like a jab at folks like me who use our shows to talk about the world. Care to clarify?" The audience hushed, sensing a shift, as Ford's smirk faded slightly, his hands clasping together. "You're twisting my words a bit, Graham," he said, his voice steady. "I was talking about staying true to what we do best. I'm an actor. I tell stories, like in Captain America. Not here to lecture folks on how to vote or think. That's all I meant." "Oh, come on, Harrison," Graham shot back, leaning forward, his eyes glinting. "You can't drop a line like that and expect us to let it slide. You're saying people like me, who talk about issues on this couch, are what, out of line, preaching too much?" Ford shifted in his seat, his tone firm but calm. "I'm saying there's a difference between talking and preaching. Graham, I grew up working odd jobs, carpentry, scraping by to feed my kids. I know what it's like to struggle. And people don't need actors or hosts telling them what's right. They need stories that respect their lives, not sermons." Graham's eyebrows shot up, his voice playful but pointed. "So you're the everyman now. Harrison, Mr. Han Solo, Mr. Indiana Jones, with your private planes and blockbuster paychecks. You're telling me you're still just a carpenter at heart, not buying it." The crowd murmured, some laughing, others uneasy, as Ford's jaw tightened, his voice gruff. "I don't claim to be anyone's hero, Graham, but I haven't forgotten where I came from. I built furniture to pay the bills before Star Wars. Unlike some hosts who turn real issues into jokes for ratings, that's not connecting, that's showboating." The comedian guest, trying to lighten the mood, chimed in, "Hey, maybe we talk about Captain America. Those action scenes look wild." But Graham waved him off, his focus locked on Ford. No, I want to hear this, Harrison. You think I'm showboating? Huh? You think I'm not out here speaking for people who watch this show every week?" Ford shook his head, his voice rising slightly. "I think you pick fights to get laughs, Graham. I've seen your clips. You take something serious. Taxes, healthcare, and make it a punchline. You don't speak for people, you speak at them. And that's why folks are tired of it." Graham leaned back, his smile sharp. "Tired of it, Harrison. I'm giving people a voice. I talk about climate change, inequality, the stuff you dodge in your big Marvel movies. You think playing a general in Captain America makes you some kind of moral compass?" Ford's eyes narrowed, his tone cutting. "I'm not dodging anything. I tell stories that bring people together. Captain America is about standing up, not tearing down, but you. You invite me here to talk about a film and then try to make me the bad guy for saying we should focus on our craft. That's not a conversation. That's a setup." The audience gasped, a few clapping as Graham's voice rose. A setup, Harrison. I'm asking you to own your words. You said we're preaching, so stand by it. Or are you just gonna hide behind that gruff charm and your Indiana Jones hat? Ford stood, his chair creaking, his voice steady. I stand by every word. Graham, but I'm not hiding. You're the one setting traps. You want to talk about preaching? Let's talk about how you turn every guest into a punching bag for your audience to cheer. That's not truth, that's a game. The pop star guest tried to jump in. Maybe we talk about the Captain America cast. Sounds like a fun group. But Graham ignored her, his voice sharp. A game, Harrison. I'm doing my job, asking tough questions. You don't get to come here, throw shade at talk shows, and then act surprised when I call you out. Ford's hands clenched, his voice gruff. Tough questions, Graham, or cheap shots. Because there's a difference. You're not asking about my work. You're digging into my life to make me look like some out-of-touch star. And I'm not here to play your villain. The crowd went silent, the air electric, as producers signaled frantically from the control room, security inching closer, sensing the clash was about to hit a tipping point that would make this moment legendary. Harrison Ford stood his ground on the Graham Norton show's vibrant set, his hands thrust into his pockets, his half-smirk gone as he faced Graham Norton, who leaned forward with a glint of defiance, his last jab about Ford playing the villain still hanging in the air. The audience sat riveted, their cheers replaced by hushed anticipation, as the clash over Ford's comments about celebrities sticking to their craft turned personal, with producers in the control room signaling frantically and security guards inching closer to the couch. The comedian and pop star guests shrank back, their attempts to lighten the mood ignored, as the showdown barreled toward a breaking point. Smash that subscribe button and drop your thoughts in the comments, because this fight is about to hit a fever pitch, and what happens next will leave you stunned. Graham leaned back, his voice sharp and teasing. So Harrison, you're calling me out for playing games, huh? You come on my show, throw shade at hosts like me for preaching, and now you're acting like I'm the bad guy. You think your Captain America role makes you the arbiter of what's real? Or is that just your old carpenter charm talking? Ford's jaw clenched, his voice gruff and steady. I'm not arbitrating anything. Graham, I said what I said. I'm an actor. I tell stories, like in Captain America, about standing up, not tearing down. But you invited me here to talk about my film and then ambushed me with this. You're not looking for truth. You're looking for a soundbite to make your audience clap. The crowd murmured, some nodding, others gasping, as Graham's smile tightened, his tone cutting. A soundbite, Harrison. I'm doing my job, asking you to own your words. You said hosts like me are out of touch, preaching to people, so back it up. Or are you just gonna grumble like Han Solo and dodge the question? Ford shifted his weight, his voice rising slightly. I'm not dodging, Graham. I'm calling it like I see it. You take real issues, jobs, taxes, people's struggles, and turn them into jokes for your fancy London crowd. I spent years as a carpenter, scraping by, raising kids. I know what it's like to worry about the next paycheck. You don't get to twist that into me being some elitist. Graham's eyebrows shot up, his voice playful but biting. Oh, the carpenter card. Harrison, that's cute. But you're not hammering nails anymore. You're flying private jets, starring in Marvel blockbusters. You think that gives you the right to tell me I'm out of touch? Come on, give me something better than that. Ford's hands came out of his pockets, gesturing sharply. Better than that. Graham, how about this? I don't sit on a couch making millions to mock people who don't agree with me. You invited me to talk about Captain America, but you're digging into my life to make me look like some out-of-touch relic. That's not a conversation. That's a setup. The audience gasped, a few clapping, as the comedian guest tried to jump in. Hey, maybe we talk about the Captain America stunts. Those must have been intense. But Graham waved him off, his voice sharp. No. I want to hear this, Harrison. You think I'm setting you up? Huh, I'm giving people what they want. Real talk about real issues. Not just Indiana Jones swinging in to save the day. You're the one who said we're preaching. So prove it. Tell me how I'm failing my audience. Ford's voice grew gruffer, his tone cutting. You're failing them when you turn their lives into a punchline. Graham, I've seen your show. You make fun of folks who vote differently, who live differently. You call it real talk. I call it bullying with a microphone, and I'm not here to be your next target. Graham leaned forward, his voice rising. Bullying, Harrison. That's a strong word. I'm asking tough questions. I talk about climate, inequality, the stuff you dodge in your big-budget films. You think playing Thaddeus Ross makes you some kind of working-class hero. You're a movie star, not a martyr. Ford took a step closer, his voice steady but fierce. I'm no martyr, Graham. But I'm not dodging either. I tell stories that lift people up. Captain America is about fighting for what's right, not mocking people's struggles. You invited me here to talk about that. But you're dragging up my past, my carpentry days, to make me look like a hypocrite. That's not tough questions. That's a cheap shot. The crowd went silent, the tension electric, as Graham's smile vanished, his voice sharp. Cheap shot, Harrison. I'm calling out your privilege. You're out here acting like you're still the guy building tables, but you're cashing Marvel checks. Don't lecture me about what's real when you're living in a Hollywood bubble. Ford's hands clenched, his voice gruff. Privilege, Graham. Let's talk about yours. You sit here raking in millions, acting like you're the voice of the people, but you're just playing to your crowd. You don't know what it's like to go hungry, to wonder if you'll make rent. I live that, and I don't use it to score points on my guests. The pop star guest tried to intervene. Maybe we talk about the Captain America cast. Sounds like a fun group. But Graham ignored her, his voice booming. Score points, Harrison. I'm giving my audience the truth. I've been out here fighting for what's right. You're the one throwing shade at talk shows, saying we're out of touch, so stand by it. Or are you just gonna walk away like you did in Blade Runner? Ford's eyes narrowed, his voice low and cutting. I stand by every word, Graham. But I'm not walking away. I'm calling you out. You invited me to talk about a film, but you're turning this into a personal attack. You're not fighting for truth. You're fighting for headlines, and I'm not here to play your game. The audience erupted in scattered applause, some cheering Ford's stand, others stunned, as Graham leaned back, his voice sharp. Headlines, huh? You're the one making headlines, Harrison, acting like you're above it all. You think your sob story about carpentry gives you the right to judge me. I've earned my place. What have you done besides play action heroes? Ford's voice rose, his tone fierce. Earned your place, Graham. By what? Making fun of people's lives. I've spent decades telling stories that matter, from Star Wars to Captain America, stories that give people hope, not tearing them down for laughs. You want to talk about earning something. Earn the respect of your guests by not ambushing them. Graham's face flushed, his voice rising to a near shout. Ambushing, Harrison. I'm doing my job. You came on my show, threw shade at what I do. Now you can't handle the pushback. If you don't like it, there's the door. Nobody's chaining you to that couch. Ford's chair scraped as he took a step, his voice steady. I'm not running, Graham. But I'm not your punching bag either. You want a real conversation? Let's have one. But stop trying to humiliate me for your audience's cheers. That's not hosting. That's a power trip. The studio went dead silent, producers signaling frantically, security poised, as the clash hit a tipping point, leaving everyone wondering how this would end. Harrison Ford took a deliberate step toward the edge of the Graham Norton show's set, his voice still ringing from his last retort, calling out Graham Norton's ambush tactics, as the audience sat frozen, their gasps echoing in the silent studio. Graham stood behind his desk, his sharp wit dulled by Ford's defiance, his face flushed as he tried to regain control of a segment that had spiraled into chaos. The comedian and pop star guests shrank back, their faces pale, while producers in the control room waved frantically, signaling for a commercial break, and security guards hovered near the couch, ready to step in. Hit that subscribe button and share your thoughts below, because this final moment will reveal who walks away with dignity and who's left in the fallout. Ford paused, his voice gruff and steady. You want a real conversation. Graham, I'm game, but you're not. You brought me here to talk Captain America, about standing up for what's right. But you turned it into a personal hit job. You're proving my point. You'd rather tear me down than talk. And I'm not here for your circus. The audience clapped, some cheering loudly. As Graham's voice rose, sharp and defensive. Circus Harrison, I'm giving my audience the truth. You threw shade at hosts like me, saying we preach. Now you can't handle me calling you out. If you don't like it, there's the door. Go back to your Marvel sets. Ford's hands clenched, his tone cutting. Handle it, Graham. I've handled tougher than you. I spent years as a carpenter, scraping by. I don't need a lecture from a guy who makes millions mocking people's lives. You're not calling me out, you're putting on a show, and I'm done being your prop. Graham leaned forward, his voice booming. A prop, Harrison. You're the one acting like some working-class hero. You're a Hollywood legend, not some underdog. Don't come here acting like I'm the villain when you started this with your big talk. Ford shook his head, his voice low and fierce. I started nothing, Graham. You invited me to talk about Captain America, about stories that inspire, but you dug into my past, my carpentry days, to make me look like a hypocrite. That's not truth. That's a cheap shot, and I'm not playing your game. The crowd erupted, applause swelling as Graham's face tightened, his voice shrill. Cheap shot, Harrison. I'm doing my job. You said we're out of touch, so own it. Or are you just gonna walk off like Indiana Jones dodging a trap? Go ahead. Leave if you can't take it. Ford took another step toward the exit, his voice calm but piercing. I'm leaving, Graham. Not because I can't take it, but because I respect myself too much to stay in your ambush. You had a chance to talk about real issues, but you chose a fight. And I want this audience to remember who kept it honest and who made it personal. The crowd cheered louder, some standing as security hesitated, their hands raised but unmoving, sensing Ford's resolve. Graham's hands slammed the desk, his voice cracking. Honest, Harrison. You're the one throwing shade. Now you're walking away like some martyr. Go sell your superhero movie and leave the real talk to me. Ford turned back one last time, his voice soft but powerful. Real talk, Graham, is listening, not attacking. It's building something. Not tearing it down. I came here to share a story about hope. But you chose drama, and that's on you. He walked off the set, his head high, the audience roaring with applause. As Graham sank into his chair, his smile forced, trying to pivot. All right, we'll be back after this break. But the silence from the crowd spoke louder, their faces a mix of shock and judgment. The cameras caught every moment, Graham's strained expression, the guests' unease. As producers cut to commercial, their panic palpable. Social media exploded within minutes, clips of the clash trending with hashtags like #Harrison vs. Graham, fans praising Ford's grit, posting, "He walked off like Han Solo, pure class," while others slammed Graham. He tried to trap a legend and got schooled. Headlines screamed, Harrison Ford storms off Graham Norton's show in epic showdown, with analysts lauding Ford's authenticity, his refusal to play into Norton's tactics, while noting Graham's ambush had backfired, denting his playful persona. Graham's team issued a vague statement about lively debates, but it couldn't stem the backlash as viewers questioned his fairness, his credibility shaken. Ford stayed silent, letting his exit speak, his Captain America role now tied to a real-life stand for principle. The clash became a defining moment, a lesson in authenticity over drama, with Ford emerging as a symbol of integrity, his walk-off proving he could stand tall without stooping low. Graham's misstep cost him the audience's trust, his legacy as a charming host tainted by a moment of overreach. Years later, this moment would be revisited, a reminder that respect outshines spectacle, and Ford's final words would echo, showing who fought for honesty and who fell to their own ego.
Thank you for watching our channel Modern Stories. If you liked our video, you should subscribe for more amazing videos like this. Have a healthy and happy day. See you in the next one.